Hey guys, and welcome back to the battlefield. I'm a Rubber Duck War, and yes, once again I am here with some more glorious Immortal Empires showdowns, and it is going to be the Dowie, the mighty forces of the Dwarfs taking on Grand Cathay. Now, many people have been kind of theorizing that Dwarfs are going to be absolutely garbage in domination mode, and honestly, I'm kind of with them on it as well. They're very slow, ponderous, not big damage dealers, they're very durable, so maybe if they can get onto objectives they can hold, but that's going to be really quite tough. But I thought, hey, let's test it out a little bit. Let's go up against Grand Cathay, who are kind of the worst at the moment in the current Warhammer 3 factions, and see who comes out on top. Should be a good fun game. We're up against Samurai Warrior, a legendary master of the combat arts. And if you guys are enjoying this Immortal Empires awesomeness, make sure to subscribe, and I am dropping stuff basically every single day on it. My battalion, I do have miners with blast and chargers who are going to be very cost-effective up against Grand Cathay troops, mixed in with some Dowie warriors, including the warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Now, these guys are going to hold the line for an absolute age. I feel like miners will decimate peasant long spearmen, and jade warriors will bump and grind up against dwarf warriors for about 15,000 years. We also miners, blast and chargers getting ready to push my opponent's home objective, while I support my own with longbeards and even more miners with blasting chargers. Got a couple of units of slayers going up the mid. We also have a cannon and a goblobber, which is the regiment-renowned grudge thrower. We then have Grombrindle leading the battle charge. As for my opponent, he does have a Dragonblade Lord up in the skies, of course, coming in with Missile Mirror, the Talons, as well as, I believe, that is the hidden ability. Yeah, Cloak of Jet's really quite cool, actually. I'd like to see this be implemented in this battle. With some peasant long swimming going for the home objective. Apart from that, everything else is going up the mid. We have double grand cannon, double crane gunners, we have halberds, we have spearmen, we have the lot. Now, this is actually a rematch. We played this battle and we learned something new. Missile Mirror does not work on blasting charges, and because of that, my opponent wasted a load of magic, and he also learned that actually the goblobber is the real threat here, not the grand cannon. The grand cannon's been shut down here by a Missile Mirror, but the goblobber, due to the fact that it can discourage, can take out enemy infantry instantly, and because of that, in our first run through of the game, it was just an absolute wipe. So we thought, okay, now we know the differences. We now know that we can't use Missile Mirror like that. The goblobber is a big threat. Let's run it back, go again, and see how this matchup really truly does come into fruition. And that's something to note in the majority of games being played by all these YouTubers right now. There's simply not been enough time to really formulate a meta or any of that kind of stuff. So though we think dwarfs are probably going to be quite bad and vampire counts are going to be quite oppressive, we'll have to wait and see how things do fare in the long run. Looks like Dragonblade Lord is going to move over to the back line, looking to shut down the cannon. I do summon a cheeky unit of Slayers to move over and help support fending off that Dragonblade Lord. But my own goblobber is really suffering now, down to just 3 models, but we're doing okay. I mean, the enemy Grand Cannon is also down to 3 models, and they've had to use a lot of magic to help support their ones, and we're rather close to breaking them. The dwarf line's getting nice and aggressive. I'm going to try and push forward off the objective and straight into the enemy territory. There's a load of halberds awaiting us, though, and though they're... Oh, and Celestial Dragon Guard, believe it or not. They've got decent AP, despite their bonus versus large not going to be super useful. White Dwarf does swoop through the gap, trying to shut down the back line a little bit more. And look at the blasting charges. These are Jade Warriors. They have 80 armor. Still takes significant work from the blasting charges. Warriors Dragonfire Pass will batter shields against axes and halberds as the Celestial Dragon Guard attempt their way of breaking through our dwarvish line. We should better hold for a considerable amount of time here, though, you would think, and force back the enemy. A relatively close fight in the middle. The dwarfs are much cheaper, and we are slowly losing out there. Peasant horsemen are ramrodding our miners with blasting charges, but it isn't good news for me. We have slayers pushing up to the high ground here alongside miners with blasting charges. Should be able to take down the long spears and apply a bit of pressure to my opponent. The dwarvish cavalry is full on trotting now around the outside. The slayers are going to be kind of swooped through the middle, up and over, and now going to be coming back into the soft underbelly of the Grand Cathay army. Double cannon and crane gunners are really holding it down for them in the mid. Significant damage is being wrought upon me. We get a Talons come down on the dwarf warriors and miners who are desperately trying to hold back halberds. We are losing the middle objective, which isn't good news whatsoever. Grombrindle is going to peel off, though, and move back a little bit. Celestial Dragon Guard are slowly grinding down the warriors at Dragonfire Pass, and things aren't looking great for me at the moment. Miners of blast and charges will be able to hack their way through peasant horsemen. We've got a decent amount of pressure being applied on the high ground. Those slayers are attempting to drag down at Jade Lance, as well as miners finish off peasant long spearmen. A close and scrappy fight so far, though we are ahead in the ticket department. Slayers have now wrapped up and around. It seems like one cannon was almost about to be finished off anyway, but the slayers' axes thirst for the blood of Cathayan troops, and blood we shall have. Crane gunners are going to be getting decimated very quickly here, as well as this Grand Cannon, and we can simply move our way along the back line there. We've got a load of troops coming in. We have our rangers, looks like 2 units, as well as a unit of rangers with great weapons. Just here trying to add bodies to the main fight here, as well as crossbow bolts to drag down the enemy. Slayers are moving up, and it looks like the Drowned Lord is focusing down on my cannon at the moment, which alas is down to just 1 artillery piece. We have more Longbeards start to make a push for the middle objective. Objective 1 seems secure. My opponent doesn't seem that bothered about pushing. I'm thinking it's so close I can probably reinforce it, so I'm going to use these miners to swoop down into the mid and start putting a bit of pressure onto objective 2, which is currently being hotly contested. Slayers force off crane gunners, they force off a Grand Cannon crew. Now we're going to be jumping onto the second crane gunners, as well as their cannon and these archers, just cause an absolute bedlam in the back line, force my opponent to relinquish some of their power in the middle, pull back Jade Warriors to deal with the Slayers. I'm absolutely all for this. We now have our Rangers moving into the middle, as well as our great weapon troops, and we should have enough to hopefully claim the middle objective, with Peasant Longspearmen breaking and running to save their own skin. Miners who came down from the high ground do some lovely blasting charges, helping to finish off these halberds, and now we can continue just to pour pressure on to the middle objective. Look at the amount of resources my opponent's having to put up on the left here. We've got a load of Jade Warriors coming in, 3 units in fact, because the Horsemen and Spearmen are simply getting ground down. A mixture of Slayers and Miners is a deadly combination indeed, and though we are surrounded, we can now attack out in any direction. Peasant Horsemen jump on top of Rangers, but we are going to be able to fend them off. Middle objective is looking really good for me. And now that those halberds did peel off to deal with the Slayers, I'm simply going to run away again, using my dwarvish speed, which is surprisingly faster here, I guess, than the halberds, because we are Slayers, to now hunt down the Grand Cannon and the beat-up Crane Gunners, but we're still applying pressure. Lovely cannon shots going down the line of the Miners, alas, a little bit too wide. My post-home objective is well and truly secure now. There's just so much pressure over here. The Slayers are such a sticky unit, and they're going to be able to distract my opponent for a considerable portion of the battle here, as we do some nice damage here in the middle. Slayers going to be shutting down Crane Gunners, and the Rangers, as well as the Longbeards now being summoned, can continue their mighty push. Brindle the White Dwarf, honestly a fantastic pick now, particularly in domination. He's a little bit faster than Fulgrim and can punish chariots a bit better in land battles. He's doing really nice work just beating back Jade Warriors who are trying to hold their line. Slayers going down though with a bit of a fight here. Their death blow kicking in, and it looks like though more units are being pulled in to the middle objective, very hotly contested still. So let's try and Crossbow get stuck in against Longbeards, not somewhere they want to be. They were fleeing from the Slayers who shut down the Crane Gunners and now can continue to push the enemy back line. Look at this, Slayers, they're dying in droves and they've never been happier. Hunting down the Grand Cannons, distracting all of this Cathay troops and being a real sticky in the opponent's back line. Lovely Talons does come down though, catching out both my Rangers here who did surround the Yin Lords here. Hopefully going to be trying to pick on a mistake of my opponent swooping down there, but alas, it was simply a bait and switch. We do have Peasant Horsemen trying to thunder back to shut down the Godlopper, but Dwarf Warriors are summoned from the deep, moving forward, shaking off some of the sluggishness of portal transportation, and jumping straight into the action, beating back the Peasant Horsemen, who are routed rather easily. It looks like the cannon even comes in with a shot. A little bit overkill there. There are some more horsemen coming in, but they are incredibly beat up at the moment. Godblobber, even if it doesn't get the most value here, just discouraging the enemy infantry is going to be such a big boon for me. Looks like Ironbreakers have been summoned to the battle line. Blast and chargers away, lads, and they're launching up and over into the halberds, doing some relatively okay damage, nothing too crazy there. It wasn't a full volley, and Grombrindle's now going to be moving into the thick of it once more. Jade Warriors are trying their best. Miners are going to be pushing them away, or pushing them all the way, really, trying to get some rear attacks in. And once again, my home objective is comfortably held. The opponent's objective is being pushed. We have Slayers still driving forward and just beat up Miners on arrival. I even summoned a full health unit. Once again, just trying to drag as much of my opponent's resources over to this objective and take his gaze away from objective 1, which I'm quite happy to be capping at the moment. Middle fight. Cathay like to sit on objectives and grind them out, but Dwarfs, there's not many better grinders in the game. Be interesting to see, between them, Nurgle and Vampire Counts, who has the better durability. I'd assume it'd be one of Nurgle or Vampire Counts because of that regeneration, but at least you have the range support coming in from the Dowie. Grombrindle is able to catch the Drowned Lord, at least for a moment, and the Drowned Lord does not enjoy that, taking big hits to the rear. Enemy cannon shots are raining down on the Ironbreakers, a particularly good target, I think, in my opinion. Rangers are continuing to shoot in as well at the Jade Warriors. A load more infantry is now going to be doing a big push on the middle objective with a heavy ticket advantage at the moment, however. And look at this, the Gobbler up to 92 kills, focus firing down the bunched up Jade Warriors. That's going to be enough to force them off the field. It looks like there's another Grand Cannon being summoned to my opponent. Really trying to play the artillery game here, which is not a bad idea on this map, but the Dwarves are so durable, I don't know if it's going to pay off there. Miners are holding back double of Jade Warriors, just keeping this objective nice and busy. And now there is crossbowmen starting to move in towards my main fighting force, which is a little bit scary because we are starting to get beat up. We have Longbeards in the middle though, as well as Ironbreakers, and Ironbreakers don't give a damn for petty arrow fire. Look at them, just, yeah, bring it on, lads, bring it on. They're taunting. Shields are being raised high. Many an Ironbreaker do fall there though, as cannon shots reap havoc amongst their lines, but the morale is still high and they're going to continue to push forward. Grombrindle is also charging in. Looks like, okay, there's another unit getting taken off the battlefield. I thought it had gone insane and dragged off the Ironbreakers. We still have our blasting charges though, and I would really like them to let loose on to the crossbowmen here, just trying to get those units off the battlefield, but looks like for some reason they don't want to throw. There we go. They do come in drips and drabs. Grombrindle's going to hold the line, but the Ironbreakers, that is a little bit scary stuff for sure with the cannon pressure coming in. Longbeards countercharge Peasant Horsemen, and it's just running into a block of iron. It's not going to go well for the cheap and cheerful peasants. We have a lovely little flash bomb go down, just learn the melee defense of all these troops and allow me to carve through them successfully. Looks like miners were summoned in the back just to fend off some Peasant Horsemen. We are over-chasing a bit too much, but we can wrap around then to Objective 1. And it looks like with a heavy ticket dominance, my opponent's Lord did actually just die as well, surrounded by Slayers, and almost no army left on the battlefield. Samurai decides to bow out of this scrap, and it is a glorious victory for the Dowie. Now, this is a matchup, I think, in particular, which is going to heavily favour the Dwarfs, but only time will tell. Very good artillery, better cannons, which allows them for more effective trades in those artillery fights. More cost-effective infantry, though they do lack the cavalry of Grand Cathay. Miners with blasting charges are so good at clearing out a lot of the chaff that Grand Cathay often bring in domination, and that's going to allow you to get your units on the objectives and then drag down the horsemen, or, you know, force them off the objectives, and if that happens, you're in an absolutely juicy position. I really do love Grombrindle, only 870 gold value here, but basically full health, was fighting a lot of the battle as well, just holding down that middle objective. A lovely presence, but the Slayer's been used as cavalry. It's something I've done for quite some time, particularly in Dowie mirror matches, and it can work really successfully. The Goblobber, only 930 value, 1000 on the cannon. Honestly, the Goblobber is the main piece, and that's why my opponent targeted it in the early days. Cannons did okay, Crane Gunners as well, 1,950 value. A very scrappy and interesting fight. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, as well as subscribing to the channel for more glorious Immortal Empires content. And leave a comment down below. What did you think of the battle? Who do you think is going to be the worst faction in domination? Can Grand Cathay scrap with the Dowie? We'll have to wait and see. Very interested to see these two in a land battle situation as well. There's going to be a lot of mind games involved, I think, in that one, on if you go artillery heavy or not. But yeah, there's a load of links down below, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord. Until next time, guys, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.